And then for USC, the big news breaking later on Monday, not good news. Dakoda Fields had been a commitment for the 2024 class, shoring up that secondary. He flips to Oregon. And I think the story there, I don't think it's anything about USC staff or what it did. I think the interesting part there is this comes right after Oregon to the Big Ten. I think that is really like the timing of that. If you're going to try and draw dots, I mean, I know that he did visit Oregon, so like he obviously liked what he saw, but still, Oregon going to the Big Ten, that might have been a little bit of a push. And so, like, I don't want to be stuck in the Pac-12. Oh, now that Oregon's in the Big Ten, you do wonder if the Ducks are going to get at least a short-term sugar high, a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of momentum now that they are going to be in the Big Ten. And obviously 2024 recruits are going to be in the Big Ten at Oregon, at Washington. So that's certainly a story to monitor long-term. But in the short term, Oregon gets a player that USC thought it had. Definitely a little bit of a punch for USC. And because Oregon's going to be playing USC in the Big Ten, it stings even more for Lincoln Riley, also for Dante Williams. And, one of the many aftershocks or, effects, whatever you want to call it, of the Oregon-Washington move to the Big Ten, being part of the past week in college sports, is that Big Ten schedule, which was so intricately crafted and developed, boom, that gets blown up. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board, formulate something new and fresh in the Big Ten. And, now we have to wait and see. And this is why the ACC Stanford Cal, exploratory talks are so interesting. Does the ACC feel the need to make sure that the Big Ten does not get its hands on Stanford and Cal? And in terms of looking at that, is this a matter of ACC administrators and academic types wanting the prestige of Stanford and Cal academically more than anything else, and not allowing the Big Ten to get those schools? Or is there a football-related play, a money-related play at work with the ACC? I'm inclined to think this is more about the academics and prestige, and we don't want the Big Ten to get them. We want to have them for ourselves. And, Stanford, Cal, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, all in the same conference. I mean, you can see why those presidents and chancellors would want to all be together as part of a club, a bi-coastal club, if you will. But, and it's hard to see where the money angle is in football, like where the revenue play is for the ACC and all of this. But anyway, with Stanford and the Big Ten, it's going to be interesting to see if the Big Ten does make a play for Stanford. It doesn't seem like it right now, but that's an unresolved thing. And Stanford has a lot of different choices it can make. Not that it has ultimate leverage, but it has a lot of platters to choose from at the cafeteria in terms of which avenue it wants to really push, make a pitch for, etc. And so I mentioned Stanford in the context of the Big Ten because if Stanford joins, you would then think, that would be 19 schools in the Big Ten. If Stanford joins, you then think a 20th school would be on the way shortly. That would affect how the Big Ten schedule gets reworked. So, going from 16 to 18, that's going to require a reworking of the schedule. But now we need to know, is the Big Ten fixed on 18 or is it going to move to 20? That's going to determine scheduling. It's going to determine the way USC and Oregon and Washington and UCLA are going to play each other, what the rotations are going to be, what the permanent opponents are going to be. The Big Ten in its 16-team configuration and the schedule it released this past June, it did not have the same amount of permanent opponents, fixed annual opponents for everybody. Penn State had 0, Iowa had 3, USC had 1, the game against UCLA. So whether the Big Ten is at 18 or whether it's at 20, that's going to affect how the Big Ten office schedules its football season for 2024 and 2025. They need to go back to the drawing board. So how these and other factors influence recruits and how they perceive the value of USC versus the value of Oregon versus the value of Washington versus the value of Stanford, which pulled in a great 2024 class under Troy Taylor. You have all these different jump balls in the air, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they affect recruiting, not just in the short term, but in the long run. But today, Oregon certainly got a notch on the belt, and USC has to recover a little bit. You also have, I'm not following this stuff too closely because I am focused mostly on realignment, but I know that Florida State has been going great guns in recruiting, and that has elbowed USC a little bit down in the pecking order. So Trojans have some work to do if they want to get that top 5 class and that top 5 position for the 2024 recruiting cycle.
Dakoda Fields is a top 10 cornerback in the nation, top 10 player in the state of California, top 100 player in the 247 Sports composite out of Gardena, California.